Everybody, Qroo here. Today I want to show you a very useful Spanish pattern that allows you to say things like smart enough, strong enough, old enough. In other words, when something is enough to do something else. Here is our basic pattern for that. Lo suficientemente plus adjective or adverb. That's the enough, okay? And then to do something is going to be como para plus the infinitive, or it could be the subjunctive if it gets more complex. I'm going to be showing you how to do that all in this video, so, just stick around. All right, let's start very simple. Let's just talk about the enough part. That's our lo suficientemente plus an adjective or an adverb. Let's start with adjectives. The house is big enough, okay? La casa es lo suficientemente grande. We just take the house, lo suficientemente doesn't change, and then we put our adjective. The car is fast enough. El carro es lo suficientemente rápido. Lo suficientemente never changes, okay? But rápido has to agree with the car. That adjective does. Let's go ahead and practice this with some adverbs. Do you feel well enough? And the verb we'll be using is sentirse. Do you feel well enough? And that pause was when you're supposed to be speaking. Ready? ¿Te sientes lo suficientemente bien? Now, taking a sentence like that, do you feel well enough? You'd be like, to do what? Now, if there was some context, we were having a conversation. Hey, do you want to go to the beach? Yeah. Do you feel well enough? Maybe the person was sick. That makes sense. But we don't always have to rely on context, so we want to make an entire sentence. Do you feel well enough to go to the beach? And that's where we're going to be using our other formula. Well, it's the same formula, it's just expanded, okay? So we're going to have lo suficientemente plus adjective or adverb, either one we want. Como para. If we don't have a subject change, okay, we're just going to be dropping in infinitives. And I'll talk about what I mean by a subject change, because it's going to get a little bit more complex after that. All right, but let's stick with this. Do you feel well enough to go to the beach? You see the formula, you see the pattern. You can logically make a sentence you've never seen or heard before, okay? Go ahead. Are you ready? ¿Te sientes lo suficientemente bien como para ir a la playa? Did you get that? I know it sounded really long, but it's really just, a couple patterns. You're plugging things in. You want to try another one? Let's try another one. Do you speak Spanish well enough to understand me? Okay. Just look at the formula, look at the pattern, make a sentence. Ready? ¿Hablas español lo suficientemente bien como para entenderme? Did you get that? Or comprenderme? Maybe you had a different verb. That's okay, as long as it follows this pattern. Now, one thing I do want to point out that I didn't mention before is the como para. I know some people are like, how am I translating that? Like, in order to? Don't think of it that way. It's a set pattern. And according to the experts at the Royal Spanish Academy, RAE, the people who say what you should do, what you can't do in Spanish, you can drop como. You can just say para. Both are correct. But you're going to see it most with como para. So if you're learning the pattern anyway, just learn it with como para. Now, before I move on, let's look at that sentence again, okay? Because I talked about, subject changes. There's no subject change. Do you speak Spanish? Who? You, right? Well enough to do what? Understand me. Who's doing the understanding? You, right? No subject change. That's what I mean by no subject change. A subject change would be after como para, we have somebody else. The action is a different person. And then it's going to get a little bit more complex, okay? That's when we're going to get the subjunctive involved. And our pattern's going to look like this. Lo suficientemente plus an adjective or an adverb plus como para qué. Right? Not just como para qué plus subjunctive. Plus subjunctive means that next verb is going to be conjugated in the subjunctive mood. It could be the present subjunctive or the past subjunctive. We get tense agreement. Whatever it is, it's going to be in the subjunctive. The teacher spoke slowly enough for the students to understand. That's all in the past, right? So we're going to be using the imperfect subjunctive, but we're still going to be plugging it into that formula. If you don't know the subjunctive, this is probably too tough for you. If you do, well, go ahead and take a stab at that. Why not, right? Are you ready? El profesor, or la profesora, or el maestro, or la maestra, whichever one you like, habló lo suficientemente despacio como para que los estudiantes entendieran. Entendieran is in the imperfect subjunctive. Why is it in the imperfect subjunctive? Because that's the formula, right? The imperfect subjunctive is the past subjunctive. Everything's in the past, so we have tense agreement. But the subjunctive was chosen because that's where it goes. It just follows a formula. You don't have to overthink these things. Now, if you really want to learn the subjunctive quickly, I have a ton of videos on it, or you could also download my guide, Spanish Subjunctive Triggers. There's a link to it. This is a printed copy. You're going to get a PDF right away, which I think is more useful because you can copy things out of it, put it in your word list. You can pop it into an AI just to practice certain constructions. And what this guide is a breakdown of the subjunctive into simple triggers like I'm talking about. And although lo suficientemente is not specifically in here because it's not necessarily a subjunctive trigger, the para and para que are in. And if you have this book, that's going to be in chapter 5, okay? All right, let's go ahead and do one more really advanced sentence, for you folks that are advanced and you're like, yeah, give me another one, Paul. I got this. Juan left the door open enough for the cat to get in, to enter, okay? That's what we'll say. We'll use the verb to enter. I was almost going to give it to you. Juan left the door open enough for the cat to enter. Ready? Juan dejó la puerta lo suficientemente abierta como para que el gato entrara. Did you get that one? There was a lot going on there, but it's still just following that basic pattern. Once you know the pattern, you can make up your own sentences just by popping in different vocabulary. Well, that's it for this lesson. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. And until next time, hasta luego.